Welcome to the Freight Forward podcast with your host, Nicola Hughes.
Hi, I'm Nicola Hughes and welcome to the Freight Forward podcast. I'm joined today by Kimberly from CSG Consulting and Maxi Ebert from CCS Express, both of whom are big names in e-commerce freight forwarding. They're right there in the thick of it. And we're going to talk today a bit about the global situation that's going on at the moment and how that is affecting e-commerce and freight forwarding specifically. Hi guys, thank you for joining us. I wondered first of all, Kimberly, could you start by giving us a bit of a background? I know you're in the US. Could you talk to us a bit about what's going on over there and how you think that's going to impact e-commerce?
Nothing to see here. I don't know. No, of course. We are the spotlight of the world is on us right now. As we know, there's been a lot of, we're in the middle of a tariff war, basically, focused mostly on China. We've had a lot of media and drama going on here in the United States about it. There's been a lot of media cycles. And everybody is very nervous. We are seeing in the US behavior changes in consuming. There's some hoarding is starting to take place, which we don't want that. Like, don't hoard. We don't need to hoard yet. But also people are cutting back on their luxury spending. We're seeing housing prices start to drop down, interest rates and inflation. Like, there's lots of conversation about the economy in the United States and how this tariff war is really impacting us. It's impacting our stock markets. It's impacting everything. We've had big federal government layoffs. So I don't know if that's really getting a lot of worldwide coverage, but that has been a major shift as well here in the United States. So we're kind of pinching from both ends. But the tariffs specifically have really upended things here. My opinion is and continues to be that materially what has been actually implemented versus what we see a lot of news cycles about is less than what we actually talk about, right? So we don't have any tariffs on auto parts yet. We've put a pause on electronics for, manufacturing, on tariffs on those. So we're kind of going out and saying, hey, we're going to put big tariffs on all this stuff, but then we're kind of slowly walking it back. Which is good for the U.S. consumer because we're not going to get stuck with these big prices, but it is making a lot of volatility and it's making it very hard to plan.
Yeah, for sure. Especially that one I wanted to focus on a lot. How do you think businesses are planning? How can freight forwarders start to plan for the situation we're in?
So I believe that even what we're seeing going on with China, I think that's going to mitigate a bit. Actually significantly, I think we're going to come to an agreement before the stuff starts landing. But in the meantime, what freight forwarders can be doing is working with their shippers and their importers. A great way to try to mitigate or just rest a little bit while it's going on. I talked to another leader a lot about being still. Is go ahead, import it. If you can, put it into an FTZ or some sort of bonded status and only pulling out what you need. So kind of just in time. Anyone doing just in time inventory is going to be in a great position because you're not bringing in bulks of inventory. So any kind of bonded situation that you can start to take advantage of and only pulling out the inventory that you need. So far, you can still apply for exception. Or our duty drawback and exception exemption, is the right word, for these tariffs for the most recent one. So if you are an importer, you can try to apply for exemptions that this product cannot be made in the United States. And then they will allow for duty drawback with the most recent. So if something does change in the future, you can go and get your money back.
That's cool. And how do you think it's affecting Europe in that same sense, Maxi, or has it not got there yet?
Well, in our market, or from my personal opinion, I can say that people are mostly curious about it and are somehow afraid of it. As Kimberly said, a lot of people are being careful. And what I see myself in currently is that a lot of our customers are asking questions about, hey, can I still import this? Is this affected? Can I still ship this to the US? But in general, In Europe, the market, I'd say, is still pretty much the same. I mean, the local market, international market, I can mostly see questions. Hey, can we still ship it? Is there any update yet? And I basically see my rule, see our rule right now on a consultancy basis where we really need to be on top of what's happening and where we need to, well, talk to our clients, hey, help our clients and say, hey, do this or wait for this, or currently everything's fine. So this is basically what we are currently seeing.
And Kimberly, back to your point about bringing things in and keeping stuff in a bonded warehouse. Do you think we'll see the end of drop shipping?
Well, I paused there a little bit because I was gonna jump in and go, absolutely not. But then, of course, we have these new de minimis things that have dropped right recently about, especially for Hong Kong and China, where we're putting additional tariffs and charges on de minimis shipping, and that's been a big part of e-commerce dropship is directly shipping from China, right? So I'll go back to my original point: is I think that all of this is gonna mitigate and settle. Here in the next couple of weeks. I think we'll see everybody kind of drop their swords a little bit. I do think in the United States, we need to address the de minimis issue. We're one of the last countries that has an $800 de minimis. So I do think that we need to address it. But yes, at the current, I mean, Hong Kong has already said they're not going to ship to us anymore because they're like, we're not going to implement this. We're not going to do this to the U.S. citizens, which I thought was an interesting play. And then, of course, as we were talking about earlier, DHL has also come to the table and said, we're not dealing with it anymore either. And to me, that signal from DHL to me, and I'll be interested to hear what Maxi has to say about it. That signal to me when DHL said, we're not going to deal with this, we're not going to go through the pain of trying to solve for this because it's not real.
Interesting.
Because in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month or whatever, they're going to walk all this back. So what I read out of DHL's response was, we're going to wait until there's actually something for us to do.
Well, I totally agree with that. I mean, over here, I can hear that people say, no, we don't believe this. This can't be done. No one is really believing in this, that this will be happening, and there will be solutions, I think. In regards to the drop shipping, I can say I'm sure there will be ways found to go around that. I mean, I compare this a little bit with import regulations, import VAT, etc. in Europe, and if especially Chinese shippers, for example, want to import through the European Union on this drop shipping basis, then they will find a way. If this is through another country or if this is any exception in the laws, I'm sure logistics or people working in logistics are smart enough to always find some gaps and holes to sneak through to get their business working. So I'm sure something will open up in order to still maintain this business. Maybe not the same way as it is right now, but maybe in a different way.
Yeah. Can I pile on Maxi's point? Because he makes a really great one. And we had a really great example of it recently. Well, about 4 or 5 years ago, right? When the original tariffs went in place, 6 years ago almost now, we saw a huge spike in shipments to Mexico. Wonder why that was about, right? So to Maxi's point, shippers, freight forwarders figured a way around it. We'll ship through Mexico. We'll take it to Maquila. We'll add some value to it. And we'll bring it into the United States and we'll skip all of this. So to Maxi's point, yes, I think that it may take 6 months to a year to figure out if this sticks to find a solution. But there'll be a workaround.
Do you think consumer behavior will change and adapt as a result of what's gone on? Even if it's just bringing it to the attention of consumers in the US, just how much they were consuming from China, do you think they even know when you go online and you order something online and you say, I want this and I want it at this price? Do you think they even definitely know where it's coming from? The average.
I'll speak to the US and then Maxi can probably speak to Europe a little bit better. So I would say, because of COVID in the United States, people have more awareness of where stuff is coming from. I don't think the penny has completely dropped that you're not going to get $2 underwear if they don't come from China. And so I don't think that penny has completely dropped in the United States that, hey, we buy stuff from China because we can afford it. Like if we want to shift to buying here in the United States, your prices are going to go up significantly. So I don't think that penny has dropped yet in the United States. And I do see behavior changing here. We're seeing a decrease in like restaurants, luxury spending, doctor's appointments, or, like I was just at the dentist and they're like, yeah, we've had a lot of cancellations. It's really weird. People are starting to like pull back on those little, what they consider extra spending. So we are seeing it in the luxury spending is down in the United States. But the other thing I think that's happened that's super interesting, because we talk about awareness, and some of the China manufacturers have really been doing a lot of education on this in the United States, is that they've been kind of out there being like, hey, guess what? How much this really costs to make. And it's been, I think people are becoming more enlightened about how much their actual product cost. I would say that's the biggest thing out of this that the U.S. citizen is seeing, is starting to learn that, oh, wow, these $300 jeans really do only cost $18.
Yeah.
Maxi, what are you seeing?
Well, yeah, I guess as you said, the awareness is already there since a few years. For us, I can also again relate to Brexit. In the past, a lot of Nicola, we know each other from that point actually. With
Fateful
Brexit,
time.
a lot of business or a lot of products were imported through the UK and then sold throughout Europe. Once Brexit came into place, people were way more careful in ordering or checking from where they are ordering. Imports from China currently are a big thing. How is it coming with all the Temus and stuff? So I think people are definitely aware of where they're ordering from. They're checking first. And in terms of spending money or buying things, we do not see that people are getting more careful right now, just because of this reason. We've seen this years ago with COVID, with the general economy. This is, I think, where people are getting more careful. But with this current situation, I can't see yet, or in my opinion, I don't think that people are super careful or the behavior has changed. It's just, that some will just check more clear where it's coming from. In terms of exporting, like the customers that we have in our warehouse that we are shipping for, same with Brexit, they stopped shipping to the UK because they said, well, that's only one country. It's not our main market, so we focus on different markets. And I think the same is coming with the US, that our customers say, well, we don't ship directly to the US, but by the end of the day, this is very rare customers and only small products where this is actually worth it. Otherwise, our customers would set up warehouses in the US on their own. So I believe it will have an impact, but not a dramatic impact, or at this stage, there is no big change yet.
That's interesting, though, if you think that some European importers into the US would stop doing that, then that does become an opportunity for US importers, right? That they've suddenly got less competition.
Definitely, yeah, I definitely think so. I've seen this in the past, and I think that this definitely can happen. And then, of course, the local market in the US will change again. And
So for freight forwarders specifically, where do you think the opportunities currently lie in e-commerce as a result of everything that's going on?
I'll go first. So for freight forwarders, we're going to talk a lot about this at the conference, right? We have a lot of keynotes and some panels. So we'll get into more details about this at the conference. But kind of the three things that I've been talking to both shippers, importers, and freight forwarders about is that one, stay flexible, right? Don't lock yourself into anything right now. Everybody needs to stay open, keep the communication open. The other thing is that this is happening to everyone, right? That imports into the United States. It's not to someone specific or a specific industry. Well, some of the industries are getting exemptions, but so one is stay flexible. Two, look at alternatives. So alternative Incoterms. DDP is a hot item right now. Like everybody is talking about DDP. That gives you some flexibility. So back to the flexibility thing. So look at your Incoterms, look at doing bonded. And then, talk to your freight forwarder, and freight forwarders out there should be looking at routing options. Like how can I get your freight through another way? What can I offer you to help you, mitigate these taxes? And then, everyone also always wants to talk about sourcing, right? Like just source it somewhere else. We'll just source it somewhere else. Just source it somewhere else. Well, it's not that easy. So if that is something that you are thinking about, you need to start your conversations with your freight forwarders now. And freight forwarders can be helping their shippers and their importers by helping them identify good markets for them to find alternative sources to. So countries that have great shipping lanes, have good, pier facilities, things like that. But also countries that have the infrastructure, the raw materials, and things like that. So that is where freight forwarders can really be assisting their shippers and importers right now. Is what alternatives do I have for you? Where can we ship it from? And, what other countries should we be looking at?
Yeah, I definitely agree with this. I would also put customs clearance onto this, as we are into freight forwarding and also specialize in customs clearance, especially since you mentioned DDP. This is a big thing in the European Union, so I'm well aware of that. I basically see our opportunity in the consultancy part. As I mentioned before already, customers are coming up, they don't know what to do, so definitely we can find ourselves in helping them finding solutions, as you said, different routes, different lanes, and also on the customs part, that we can help them to bring in their goods, to export their goods, etc., etc. So this is definitely where I see our biggest opportunity. And I guess this is the way where it will go to, and then we see how long this whole situation lasts, or if this will be all going back, or if this will be a thing in the future. But yeah.
But particularly, I think freight forwarders who work specifically on e-commerce, they've been doing this for years now, haven't they? Advising when the markets change rapidly, when things don't go as you expect. That's exactly their expertise. So I guess in this instance, they're probably going to reap a lot of benefits from being able to advise their customers, their shippers, on what to do now. They've done it before, they'll do it again, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, freight forwarders specializing in e-commerce have to stay flexible, right? So one of the best examples of that is if you sell on Amazon Marketplace or Walmart or any of the marketplaces, right? I'm not even going to pick on any of them, right? They change the rules every day. So that's a great example of if you're doing that, we have to stay flexible. I was chuckling a couple of weeks ago about, way back in the day, where e-commerce really changed packaging. So, you used to all buy everything in retail packaging. Early days at Amazon, it was scan disc, the little discs. And I don't know if you remember, but when you used to buy those, it came with about 3 square feet of plastic around it. And that obviously creates shipping issues and all that kind of stuff. So that was a big shift I'm using that as an example of where e-commerce supply chain shifted to not only meet market demands, but also drive the market, right? So they actually then drove the market to say, hey, we need to reduce packaging. We don't need retail packaging. We need to reduce packaging. So I think there may be an opportunity here where e-commerce supply chain will, of course, adapt, but also may drive changes that will have, lifelong impacts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm always saying where one door closes, another one opens up. So flexible, I think, or being flexible is the right word. You need to see where it's going. You need to find your niche and you need to find your business. This is what we constantly see in this particular market. It's changing quickly, and you can only be in the market still if you're adapting and if you see opportunities and if you're flexible to adapt to this.
If your business is focused, though, importing into the US, how do you forecast in a market like this? How do you look for the next year, even week, and say, where do we want to be? What do we want to do with our business? How do you do that?
It's been a challenge. So a couple things. One, the biggest thing importers in the United States right now are really, they're just trying to maintain their relationships, right? They're like with their vendors, everybody is trying. It's really very interesting actually, because everyone's trying to help each other. So even the vendors in China are everybody's losing. I think that's the thing, is that we feel like we're punishing China and China feels like they're punishing us, but it's really, everyone's losing. Like the consumers, the workers, that's who's actually losing while these, big heads kind of duke it out. So the vendors are really trying to work with the importers in the United States to make it happen. But as far as planning, what my advice has been is that stick with your 3-year plan for now. Like, don't go changing your horizon, right? Don't change your North Star. Keep going. You may have to slow down a little bit, buy a little bit less, be a little bit more strict about your buying. You also asked about does e-commerce fare a little bit better in these situations? I think so, compared to retail or manufacturing, because, for retail, you have to have the shelf stocked, you have to carry a lot of inventory, same thing with manufacturing, whereas e-commerce can be a little bit more just in time. So I think it'll fare a little bit better. So don't change your North Star, don't change your 3-year, but for the next 6 months or so, you're going to need to be flexible in your planning. And it's not just about what you're going to be importing at what price, but also our consumer behavior is changing. So I would say that we're going to probably see a 20% decrease in spending, general consumer spending in the next 6 months or so.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah,
and it's going to be significant.
I think so. Plan it smart. Be aware that it will cost a little more, that your margins are a little bit less. So that's my advice, or that's what I think will be important. Don't expect the biggest sales and the cheapest rates. I guess that's not really something that you're going to face.
Yeah, that was going to be another question of mine.
Yeah, sorry. The good news is that ocean freight's down. So.
That's what I was going to say, was about the rates. Do you think it will stay that way, though? Because if you're even an ocean liner, at some point, your prices, your costs are going to go up. Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, the steamship line, and Maxi will probably have a better opinion about this than I do, but the steamship lines are always going to mitigate, right? They got real addicted to those $20,000 containers, and they have been having a hard time ever since accepting that that's never going to happen again. So, the steamship lines are ultimately manage their capacity to make sure that they don't, go too far into the red. But the ocean freight rates are very reasonable right now.
Yeah,
Maxi, what do you see?
Maybe the shipping lines are trying to compensate the tariffs now, so that they say, okay, no, we make it cheap, so people are still shipping. Forget about or just have the extra money left to pay for the import tariffs. Maybe this is the thought, but you never know how long it's going to stay like this. I think after every low, there comes a high again. So let's see how long this will be like this.
And what about air freight? Are we seeing prices more expensive in terms of rates there? Or people trying to rush to get stuff into the US or not?
I know we had a bit of a push there right when all of this happened.
To get stuff in quickly.
Since they've backed down, on auto parts and semiconductors and things like that, or not semiconductors, but electronic parts, it's cooled off a little bit. And right now, there's actually no there's no motivation, right? Because
no,
as soon as it
exactly, because
lands,
you've
you
got
got to
the
pay
3
it.
months. Yeah.
So the
Yeah,
longer you
exactly.
can keep it suspended, the better off you are.
Yeah. I think there have not been any dramatic changes that are worth mentioning. I more have the feeling that everyone's watching now what's happening with the import tariffs, and everything's a little
Yeah.
bit on hold. And so there's no big changes in either way. So
I feel like we're going to have this exact same conversation again in 3 months, and then in another 6 months, and then maybe at the end of the year, and see how it's really gone.
I think we're going to have this conversation for like the next 3.5 years. Like it's just
yeah, maybe in a few years, or maybe even in a few weeks, we will sit there and say, "What was that
What?
topic
Yeah.
a few weeks ago? Nothing changed. Everything's still the same."
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, Kimberly, we have the WCA e-commerce conference coming up. You're going to be there?
Yeah, I am super excited. We're going to be talking exactly about this,
Exactly.
and what freight forwarders can do to serve their shippers and importers and support them through this. And we'll be we'll be talking about kind of the 3 highlights of those. And then we're going to have some great panels. We're going to talk about emerging markets. We're going to talk about LATAM. And, probably the most interesting topic, the thing that I'm most interested in, is our conversation about, navigating geopolitical adversity with logistics and supply chain. So, what's going on in Ukraine and in the Middle East, and, how does that impact supply chain, and what can we do to help in those kind of situations? So those are some of the topics we're going to talk about.
Yeah, Maxi, will you be at the conference as well?
Yes, it's close to my home, so I will definitely be there.
Actually, that's
one
good.
conference, finally a conference I can drive to with my car with just an hour away. So
I'm so jealous.
I will definitely be there, and also see some agents and customers and so on.
Oh, perfect. Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. Thanks for that discussion. And as I said, I think we will need to circle back to this at some point and see how things fare for the next 6 months. But we will see you in Salzburg.
Bye. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you.